The next topic's going to go to Matt, and that's going to be Miss Clemens.
Okay. We stood there a while, and I listed all the evidence. Okay, moving on. What's the topic, Mrs. Clemens?
Yes, sir.
You see how Matt's going to get that last word in as if it's supposed to mean something? It means absolutely nothing. You can use a figure of speech all night long. It doesn't mean anything.
Okay. Okay. So, Mrs. Clemens, I'm sad that we didn't mention her in round one because you know she does need to be talked about.
That's fine. I agree.
So, Mrs. Clemens, for those that don't know, she lived on 10th Street in the next block. She was sitting on her front porch, and she was a housekeeper, sitting on her front porch, and she saw two men near Tippit's car just before the shooting. She heard the shots, saw the shots, and she ran out into the street and saw two men, the gunman and another guy across the street. The gunman waved to the other guy as if for him to say, go on, get out of here, you know? And then they ran off in separate directions. Okay, and that would be significant. That's significant because if there was another person involved, then, you know. But anyway, she said that it was not Oswald. Oswald was not one of the men that she sought. And I want to read you. This is from Mark Layton's book, his last JFK book called Last Word. Quote, when shown pictures of Oswald, Mrs. Clemens said that he was not one of the two men she had seen. Now, this is very significant. Now, could this other person have been an accomplice? Possibly. Could it have been another shooter? Maybe, maybe not. Could it have just been another bystander? That's also possible. But it's a shame that we can't get eyewitness accounts to match up because she said she saw two men. And I know that Bill is going to say, oh, well, the other witness didn't see another man, and we can talk about that as well. But no, she was threatened to keep her mouth shut. And she gave several interviews to several people, researchers, first-generation researchers. And then she disappeared. But she was a brave witness to, being housekeeper, a minority. She was very brave to tell her story at that time, and it's a big part of the Tippit case because we don't really know, we don't have a definite answer on it, but it's something that really needs to be talked about. She saw two men.
Now you say she disappeared. What do you mean by that?
We don't know what happened.
I think I know what you're saying, but I want you to state it.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to her after 1966.
Is that supposed to mean anything? Are you saying there's anything suspicious about that, or what?
No, I'm just saying she disappeared. No one knows what happened to her.
Well, not no one. I'm sure her family and friends know where she went.
Sure, possibly, but none of us know. Yeah, so many people have tried to look for her family, and we can't find anything about her. She's most likely dead. So anyway, do you want to respond to what I said about Mrs. Clemens?
Sure.
Because
absolutely.
I think it is important because we didn't talk about her last time.
I agree. And let me ask you first and foremost, and yeah, you predicted it, and sure, I'm going to bring it up because Jimmy Burt, Bill Smith, Domingo Benavides, who you like to rely on so heavily, Helen Markham, William Scoggins. Every one of these witnesses I just listed were out on the street when the murder occurred. These people saw the events unfold. Burt, Smith, Benavides, Markham, Scoggins. That's 5 witnesses. All 5 of these witnesses, none of them, and I mean none of these 5, describe a second man. So to believe that there's a second killer or an accomplice, as you called it, I know you didn't flat out accuse there being an accomplice here, but it's kind of, I feel like it's what you're implying. So how do these 5 witnesses manage to miss seeing this second man, that this accomplice? They saw one guy, Matt, and it doesn't even matter how they described him, even though they all, said he was wearing a jacket, et cetera. But how do they miss seeing the second guy that you want to talk about Akila Clemens supposedly seeing and waving off and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you want to address that those 5 witnesses only saw one man?
Okay. So as I said, again, it's very difficult and frustrating that we can't get eyewitness accounts to match up. And, it's very possible that, these 4 or 5 other witnesses could have missed another man across the street, because they're looking at the action, which is the squad car and the man right next to the squad car. Mrs. Clemens said she looked over and she saw another man across the street. So, that's what she saw. So the witnesses never, it just happens, it just happens. They don't anticipate what's going to happen. It just happens. So it's very possible, they're not looking for someone else. They're just looking at what the attention is, the squad car and the man. They're not looking across the street for anyone else. So that's a possibility.
So hold on. So if you don't mind, just because I'm not writing all this down, are you saying it's possible that Jimmy Burt, Bill Smith, Helen Markham, Domingo Benavides, and William Scoggins missed the second guy, but he was there? Is that possible? Is that what you're saying?
It's very possible, yeah.
So Scoggins would have had to almost hit the guy. I'm not sorry, Scoggins, but Benavides would have had to almost run the guy over in his truck. There was no accomplice. And let me tell you something. So basically, Akila Clemens, she lived at 327 East 10th, which she was like a housekeeper for the Smotherman residence. And in July of 1964, Mark Lane, he was on the Barry Gray show, and he said, "We have a statement by a witness, and she was questioned by the FBI at my request." And this is what Mark Lane told, I'm assuming, Barry Gray on the Barry Gray show. But this is not true. Mark Lane was asked to release her statement, but declined. Now, in 1966, for rush to judgment, Mark Lane, in 1966, now keep in mind, in 1964, he tells Barry Gray, "She was questioned by the FBI at my request. We have a statement by a witness." But in 1966, so 2 years later, when he's making his rush to judgment nonsense, Lane says that even though the FBI interviewed over 25,000 witnesses, they inexplicably failed to question Akila Clemens. So which is it? Mark Lane directly contradicts himself 2 years later. So which one's true?
Okay.
1964, the FBI interviewed his witness at his request. 1966, the FBI inexplicably failed to question Akila Clemens. And these are direct quotes. And also, by the way, there's no evidence that Lane talked to the FBI about Clemens. My point is that the FBI and therefore the Warren Commission was not even aware of Akila Clemens. Everybody wants to talk about, why didn't Akila Clemens get called to testify? Because she didn't come forth. And whenever Akila Clemens' answers didn't fit Lane's narrative, he would cut and re-ask the question. And here's the important thing to me. Akila Clemens was interviewed by Shirley Martin. Okay, now she was, I think she was part of Mark Lane's little fact-finding committee or whatever it is they called themselves. And Akila Clemens' interview with Shirley Martin, she literally, there's no two-shooter story. Clemens didn't even think that the second man was an accomplice, and was probably just another witness. Okay, so the point is, in Akila Clemens' interview with Shirley Martin, she makes no hint whatsoever that there were two killers or a killer and an accomplice. She just talks about a second man across the street. She doesn't even hint they're together, but Mark Lane wants to spin it and make it sound juicy and exciting and say Akila Clemens saw the two killers split off in different directions or whatever kind of bullshit that he tries to spin off, when in reality, Clemens told Shirley Martin that that these two men weren't even together. She doesn't even make any hint whatsoever. She doesn't even, in the slightest, does she even hint that this other guy was even involved in the shooting in any way whatsoever.
Wow. Okay, everything he just said was factually wrong. Okay, let's go down the list because we have a little bit to unpack here. Okay, so you said that the first of all, I'm not here to think he said or anything.
Well, that's good.
Like that.
That's good.
I'm not here to do that. But let's look at the facts. Okay. Let's see. Just write down. Okay. So you said that the FBI did not question Mrs. Clemens.
No,
Mrs.
here's what I said. Hold
Let
on.
me finish.
Well, I know, but let me say it, then you can go on with your point. If you're going to say what I'm saying, then let me tell you what I'm saying, because I don't want to be misquoted. So in July of 64, Mark Lane tells Barry on the Barry Gray show, we have a statement by a witness, and she was questioned by the FBI at my request. And then in 1966, Rush to Judgment, Lane says that even though the FBI interviewed over 25,000 witnesses, they inexplicably failed to question Akilah Clemens.
Okay, so
That's what I said. Both of those are factual, by the way.
Again, Isaiah, nice try, but again, I'll say it again, I'm not here to stick up for anything that Mark Lane.
Well, you brought Mark Lane up. You brought up Mark Lane, not me.
No, I brought it up into what she told him. But anyway, we'll get there.
Well, are you relying on Mark Lane or not? It's important. I need to know.
Can I respond? Say it again.
Are you relying on Mark Lane or aren't you? I need to know. It's important.
What he said about, this or this, the FBI does not matter. It doesn't.
No, it does matter, Matt. Don't dismiss a Mark Lane obvious lie and say it doesn't matter.
I'm not here to stick up for Mark Lane. Okay, I'm not here to stick up for Mark Lane. So let me get
Throw
to
Mark Lane away. Okay.
Let me get to my point. Can I get to my points?
Go ahead.
Okay. So the FBI. So you said the FBI didn't. The FBI did question Mrs. Clemens. That's according to the Georgian.
I'm not saying the FBI did not interview Clemens. I didn't say that.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay. I
said Mark Lane said it. So you're proving Mark Lane. Mark Lane in Rush to Judgment says that even though the FBI interviewed over 25,000 witnesses, they inexplicably failed to question Akilah Clemens. He says that in Rush to Judgment.
They did.
And now you're telling me that the FBI did interview Clemens, which I already know.
They didn't. The FBI did talk with Mrs. Clemens.
So which one is I'm giving you two different statements by Mark Lane.
Again, I'm not here to talk about what Mark Lane did. I'm trying to get to the actual evidence, but you're not letting me. I'm not here to stick up for Mark Lane.
Okay, well, you don't want to talk about actual evidence. You said it's frustrating for eyewitness accounts to not match up. Well, I'm sitting here telling you that Akilah Clemens is not an eyewitness. Of course, it's not going to match up.
Wow, you're saying she's not an eyewitness. Wow. Okay, so she was on her front porch and she saw this happen. You're saying she's not an eyewitness?
I can tell you this in Rush to Judgment, if you've seen it, and I don't know, Chris, if you've seen it or not, but Mark Lane is laying out the scenario for her.
Now he's Mark Lane.
And Mark Lane is laying out the scenario for her, and he has her inside the house at the time of the shots. So was she in? I'm not saying she was inside the house, but was she inside the house or outside the house? And Matt, I'm asking you this.
So this is hilarious. So now Bill likes Mark Lane. Now he relies on Mark Lane. Anyway,
I'm asking you to tell me if Mark Lane is a liar or not. Is all I'm trying to ask you. Is Mark Lane a liar or not?
Bro, I'm trying to get to my points, but you're not letting me because we have a lot to unpack here. I have a lot to respond to about what you said.
Okay, before you get to your next point, just answer me one question. Is Mark Lane a liar or not?
In regarding to what?
It doesn't matter. Is he a liar or not? Has he
lied? I'm not here to stick up for Mark Lane. This isn't about Mark Lane.
Then why would you bring him up and use him as if it means anything?
You're trying to pivot, bro. I'm trying to get to talk about what you brought up, and you're talking about
the entire Akilah Clemens case is because of Mark Lane.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's not because of Mark Lane. Several people interviewed her way before Mark Lane even got to her. That was Shirley Martin, Harold Feldman, Marguerite Oswald, Vincent Salandria, a guy named Johnson, Oral Gold. So a lot of people talked to her way before Mark Lane even got to her.
I get all that. Everybody knows who Akilah Clemens is because of Rush to Judgment.
No, that's not true.
That's not
true.
Yeah,
her story was first. No.
Hey, Chris, if you don't mind me asking you real quick, when's the first time you ever heard of Akilah Clemens?
You're not.
Well, first time I heard of her was when I watched the movie
Chris,
JFK.
He's not letting me respond and give the facts.
Well, Oliver Stone's JFK, which he probably got from Mark Lane. Anyway, go ahead.
Can I please respond to everything that you said?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The first people to find Mrs. Clemens was Vincent Salandria and his brother-in-law, Harold Feldman, two great first-generation researchers, and they were so this is spring or May, early 1964. So this is way before Mark Lane even talked to her, which was 2 years later. Okay. So no, it does not come from Mark Lane. Okay, it does not come from Mark Lane. I know you want to say it does, but it does not.
The Aquila Clemens case is known to everyone because of Mark Lane.
Sure.
That's that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So now you're changing your
okay. No, I understand. I understand she was interviewed by others before Mark Lane. I get it.
Okay, everyone knows who she is because of his film, but he wasn't the person who found her.
I didn't say he was the person who found her. I never said that.
Okay.
I basically did say people know who she is because of Rush to Judgment.
Okay, now you're changing your crime. Okay, yeah, sure, I agree. Okay, so the FBI did question Mrs. Clemens. That is a fact. It's according to you claimed that the Warren Commission didn't know her identity.
I didn't say the FBI didn't interview Clemens. Why do you bring that up as if I didn't say the FBI did not interview Clemens.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, so you claimed the Warren Commission didn't know about her identity. Is that correct?
Not until the very end.
Okay, so now you're saying the very end. Are you saying that they never knew about her identity?
I'm saying the Warren Commission found out about Aquila Clemens at the end of the summer of '64 when it was too late to do anything about it. Pretty much.
End of the summer.
That's just my guess. Sometime towards the summer of '64. The Warren report came out in September, right? September '64, I believe, right?
No, that's not true. Okay, so Oswald's mother.
What date was the Warren report issued to President Johnson?
September.
That's what I just said.
That's not what the point you're making. Okay. That's not the point you're making. Okay. So you're saying that they didn't know about Mrs. Clemens until September, right?
I didn't say that.
So when did they learn about her?
I said sometime in the summer.
Okay, good. Okay, so Oswald's mother, Marguerite Oswald, she telephoned the Warren Commission in June 1964 and told them and gave Mrs. Clemens' name to the Warren Commission. Are you aware of that?
Right. Yeah, I just said they found out about her in the summer of '64.
All right, good. We even know her phone bill was $14.35. So they knew about her. And they even meant.
What difference does that make? Can you explain? Well, hold on. $14.35. What's the?
That's just a little. That's just a little side story. But anyway.
Okay. All right. So there's no relevance to that then.
No, I'm just saying.
Okay. Mark Lane giving two different stories, so one of them's an obvious lie.
Again, I'm not here to stick up for Mark.
You're talking about the others who interviewed Helen Markham is what you're talking about. I'm sorry, Aquila Clemens. You're talking about the others who interviewed Aquila Clemens. That's what you're in the middle of talking about.
Yeah. You said if you listen to, you said that Mrs. Clemens does not make it sound like in her interview with Shirley Martin that these two men were together, but I simply quote from that very interview. It was two men. So she said it was two men. Anyway,
what's the full context of that quote?
I don't have the full transcript right here.
So you just put those 5 words.
She said, "What happened?" And she said, it was two men."
No, she made no hint whatsoever that the guy who had the gun in his hand was affiliated with anyone else at the scene. To Shirley Martin.
Again, I'll post the transcript and the readers can read. Okay, so do you not believe that she witnessed the shooting?
I don't know if she did or she didn't.
Well, you said matter-of-factly that she did. That she was not a witness. You said that.
You said that it's frustrating that eyewitness accounts do not match up.
That's something. Okay? Yeah, sure.
And my opinion is very heavily that Aquila Clemens is not an eyewitness to the Tippit shooting at all. She's an eyewitness to the aftermath.
Okay, that's not true.
What?
She was sitting on her front porch and she saw it happen.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she did not. Yeah. All you got to do is what's your boy Mark Lane interview in Rush to Judgment?
Let's pull it up right here.
What are you pulling up some Aquila Clemens stuff, or what are you doing?
I am going to get the quote where she says that she was on the front porch, and there's going to be a pause right here but Chris can shorten it. Okay.
No, we're not pausing anything. If you got to take time to look something up, then take the time to do it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, her sitting on the front porch is not what I said. I said she's not an eyewitness to the
I
shooting.
never said that's what you said. I'm saying that. Okay. So she said, I got tired. Okay. So first of all, Shirley Martin, she interviewed Mrs. Clemens on her front porch. Okay. Mrs. Clemens said, I had gotten tired, came out here. I was just sitting out here during the shooting. Okay.
No, she didn't say
sorry.
during the shooting.
Hold on. No. That last part was my words. I'm sorry.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're going to quote it, you got to quote it
This is
verbatim.
what she said. Hold on. I got tired, came out here, sat down here on the front porch. I was just sitting out here. Okay? And she
Right.
said she said I saw some shots. I saw the shots. That's from Mark Lane's filmed interview with her from the raw transcript, okay? So she was on the front porch.
I didn't say she was or was not on the front porch. I said she's not an eyewitness to the shooting.
She just said, I just told you, she said it was two men. I'm sorry. I saw some shots. She's an eyewitness to the killing. I know you don't think so. So do you think she witnessed it or no?
No, I do not.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to read you this.
I think that she heard the shots and went outside and at the very best saw the guy running from the scene. And her interview with Shirley Martin, again, no hint is made whatsoever
Do you
of
believe
this guy
she-
running from the scene having as an accomplice or a buddy.
Again, she said, I saw the shots. So anyway, do you believe that she saw the killer, which she said was short and heavy, and she said
Okay.
was Oswald?
So now, in addition to the other witnesses, we have another description that's short and heavy.
Yes, short and
So-
heavy.
So why didn't
Short and heavy.
Reynolds or Calloway give a description that the guy was short and heavy?
Yeah. Okay. So do you believe?
No. Well, why did Reynolds and Calloway give a different description? They didn't say the guy was short and heavy, but yet they saw the same guy.
what?
So I'm just asking you: is it possible that witnesses can give different descriptions of the same suspect?
Of course. So listen.
Okay. The period. Of course.
No, it
Then
doesn't.
that makes your entire point
Listen.
moot.
No, it doesn't. No, they all just no.
Yes,
Killer-
it does, Matt.
Short, stocky man.
You've just refuted your entire point regarding eyewitness descriptions.
No, I read you what they described. Okay, we're going back. Let's go forward. Okay.
Right.
Okay, Okay, so do you believe Mrs. Clemens said that the gunman was short and stocky, and it was not Oswald when she was shown photos of him? So do you agree with that statement? Because that's what she said. Do you agree that she saw the gunman, which was not Oswald? Do you believe she saw the gunman?
I believe that that's very possible. Yes.
Okay, well, let me put an end to that. Mrs. Clemens, this is from her 1964 audio taped interview with Shirley Martin, okay? Mrs. Clemens says, quote, I just tried to get out of the way because I thought he was going to shoot me. I was getting out of the way. I seen him unloading and loading his gun. I was afraid. He frightened me. For me to come out and see him unloading his gun and reloading it, I was just getting out of the way. He acted like he wanted to shoot me. I was pretty close to him. I was standing right there, and I didn't want him to be shooting at me. You can't fake that, folks. She
Right. You
saw
know
the
what?
gun.
So
If I can
that-
finish, let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
You cannot fake that, folks. She saw the killer, period. And she said it was not Oswald.
And how many times did she say he instead of them?
He instead of them. That's not the question I asked
It's
you.
my question though. She said he never says them or
Oh
they.
my gosh, she's talking about the gunman. She's talking about the gunman.
Right.
She's talking about the gunman.
So she makes no mention of this audio taped interview you're speaking of right now that you're quoting from of an accomplice.
Yeah, she does. That's from her Shirley Martin 1964 interview.
That's what I'm talking about is the Shirley Martin interview. She doesn't make a mention of the two men being together. And the
Yes,
and
she
the quote
does.
that you
Yes, she did. She says it was two men. It was two men.
Matt.
Yeah, anyone can go on YouTube and watch her filmed interview with Mark Lane. Anyone can watch it.
You're bouncing from Shirley Martin to Mark Lane. I'm talking about the Shirley. Let's stay with Shirley Martin.
Yeah.
She said everything she described that you just read was one man. He.
No, she mentioned the other. No, dude, she mentioned the other guy across. She mentioned the other guy across the street.
Right. I agree with that, and she gave no mention that they were together.
She
None.
said it was
not
two
until Mark
men.
Lane got a hold of her.
She said it was two. Not until Mark Lane got a hold of her. No, she told the Nashes in their 1964 article that she saw two men near Tippett's car just prior to and after
She
the shooting.
she didn't see that. She did not see that. And also, how you really you know the path of the fleeing gunman. Do you really believe that he was that close to her?
She said, yeah.
He was at 327 East 10th Street, which is the second house. It was two houses to the west of the corner where Helen Markham was standing.
She said she ran out into the street. So, yes, she ran out into the street.
She ran out into the street. Obviously, that means right outside the front of the house she was in.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. She eventually went to Tippett's body. Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that. I'm where she says it.
Yeah, she ran out into the street, and the gunman's coming toward her. I just read you this. You can't fake that. She saw the gunman.
There's not one witness that has a heavyset black woman running towards the patrol car at the time that the killer is fleeing the scene.
Excuse me, what?
There's not one witness that has a heavyset black woman running towards the patrol car at the time that the killer is still fleeing the scene.
No, that's not true. She said that's what she did.
Okay, hold on a second.
Greg Lowery, a Dallas researcher, found witnesses who confirm her being there. So anyway, that's
not what I said. I said there are no witnesses who describe a heavyset black woman running towards the patrol car at the same time the killer was running from the scene.
I didn't say she ran to the car. Again, you're twisting it. I didn't say she ran to the car.
And what I'm saying is you quote her and she's talking about how scared she was that he was going to shoot her and how close she was to him. That's not true. That's not true.
It's true. It is true.
She did not get close. She didn't get any closer to the killer than Markham did.
She ran out into the street and she saw the killer running towards her, and she was frightened. She saw the killer, the gunman, with the gun in his hand, reloading. She says it wasn't Oswald. That's the point I'm making.
Okay. Do we have anything else to add to that?
I said that and she was threatened. As I said, anyway.
Who threatened her? Who threatened her?
The police.
Who says that?
How about that? Comes from her interviews with Shirley Martin.
Exactly. It comes from her. Nobody threatened her. It's ridiculous.
Yes, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's read this. Martin, has anyone talked to you and told you not to talk to anyone? Yes, they have. Is that the Dallas? They don't allow me to say anything. I'm not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, but how's that being threatened?
If I can finish, not finished. Who's that? You mean the Dallas police? Some of them, yeah. I'm just not allowed to tell you. I can't tell you nothing. I'm not allowed to tell them, the Warren Commission, nothing. I'm not allowed to talk to anybody. Some kind of policeman talked to me. He had on a police officer's uniform, ? He had blue-looking clothes on. Cap? Yes. I'm not supposed to be talking to anybody because he said if I talk to anybody, I might get killed on the way to work. See, I live over there. Is that what the policeman said? Yes. And then we fast forward to 1966. Mark Lane asks her, Mrs. Clemens, she says, he looked like a policeman to me. He did. Did he have a gun? Yes, he wore a gun. And did he say anything to you? He told me it'd be best if I didn't say anything because I might get hurt. He just said it would be best if I didn't say I had seen anything.
I'm still waiting to hear a threat.
I just read you.
That's not a threat.
Yes,
that's not a threat.
Is.
He's telling her to be careful. It's not a threat.
Well,
and also, when she says she's not allowed to talk about it, she's talking about her boss, the Smothermans.
No.
They don't want her talking to people while she was there house sitting for the elderly fellow that was there. They didn't want all these visitors and interviewers. She says, I'm not allowed talking to anybody. She's talking about her boss. I think that honestly, I think we're done with Clemens. We've been talking about way too long.
I'm almost finished with this. Let me close this out. Mrs. Clemens says, he told me it would be best for me to don't talk. Did he tell you what happened? What might happen if he did talk? Said I might get hurt or someone might hurt me if I would talk. About what you saw? What I saw. Mrs. Clemens, how long after Tippit was shot did this man with the gun come to visit you? About 2 days. It was about 2 days. So yes, and I want to close this off with
Hey, Matt, before you close it off, let me ask you one quick question. Major League Baseball.
This is not an interview. This is
Major
not
League Baseball. I have a point to make. Major League Baseball, the batter comes up to the plate, and the umpire says, hey, the pitcher's been kind of wild. Be careful so you don't get hit by a pitch. Is that batter being threatened by the umpire? No.
Okay.
No, the umpire is telling him to be careful.
Okay.
Not a threat. It's not a threat.
Okay, that's funny. Okay, so I'm going to close this off. I just read it to you. So I'm going to close this off with
You haven't read off a threat.
Can I finish?
No, I'm just saying you have not read a threat. You've read an officer warning her.
Listen, it's not a threat to you, but it's a threat. Listen, I want to close this off with a quote, powerful quote from Mark Lane. This is from his last JFK book. Again, last word. Mark Lane says, Women's, a heroic African-American woman living in the racist environment of Dallas in 1963 was warned by white Dallas police officers that if she told anyone what she had witnessed, that Oswald was not involved in the murder of Tippit, she could be killed. She told me, Wayne, that she was afraid, but said that since she was a religious woman, she believed that she must tell the truth about the death of a police officer. End quote. Next topic, please.
So Mark Lane, that quote you just now gave by Mark Lane doesn't even match the quote of Akila Clemens in Rush to Judgment. She never said, Mark Lane threw in there that the killer was not Oswald. She never said what Lane claims she said.
Okay,
Mark Lane knows how to spin the tail, that's for sure. And I've already proven he's a liar.
The next topic is going to go to Bill Brown, and that's going to be the witnesses.
Hold on.
Well, basically, you have so as far as the witnesses to the Tippit slaying, you had Jimmy Burt and Bill Smith. They were out in the front yard. They were a block east of 10th and Patton, and then you have Domingo Benavides in his pickup truck, and obviously he was driving towards the patrol car when the shots rang out. And you have Helen Markham. She was walking down Patton on the way to her bus stop. She's standing at the corner of 10th and Patton, the northwest corner of 10th and Patton, which is kind of catty corner to the corner in question. And she saw the patrol car stop and the man walk over to the car. Shots ring out. You have Jimmy Burt and Bill Smith. They hear the shots. They look back down the street. You have Benavides swerves his truck hard to the right. He was damn near 15 feet from the patrol car, so that startled him. Markham starts to scream and drop to her knees. Scoggins is in his cab. He hears the shots, sees the officer fall and the gunman run in his direction. So he gets out of his cab. Barbara Davis and Virginia Davis, they were in the house on the corner of 10th and Patton, and they both come to the front door. They see a gunman cutting across their yard with a gun in his hand. Scoggins is leaving his cab. He's trying to run away and decides there's nowhere to hide. So he crosses the street back to the cab and starts to hide behind the driver's side back quarter panel, looking over the back trunk. This is when he hears the killer say, "Poor damn cop," or "Poor dumb cop," says it twice. And then the killer proceeds down Patton. He's seen by Sam Ginyard and is also seen by Ted Calloway running down Patton. Now, these guys obviously heard the shots. They go out to the sidewalk and they look north up Patton and they see this gunman coming down the street. And then you have 4 guys at the Johnny Reynolds Motor Company a block south of the shooting scene. Now, this was located at the corner of Patton and Jefferson. This would be the southeast corner, which is across the street from Ted Calloway's lot. And so these 4 fellows, L.J. Lewis, Warren Reynolds, Harold Russell, and Pat Patterson, they look up the street, and all 4 of these guys see the killer coming down the street with a gun in his hand. Now, here's the thing. All these witnesses, let me count them up here. We have Jimmy Burt and Bill Smith. That's 2. Benavides is 3. Markham is 4. The Davis sister-in-laws is 6. Scoggins is 7. Calloway and Ginyard make 9. And the 4 guys at the Johnny Reynolds Motor Company make 13 people. Okay. Now, Jimmy Burt and Bill Smith never said the killer was Oswald. Benavides never said the killer was Oswald, even though he does use Oswald's name a couple of times when describing the actions of the killer. But I don't use Benavides as a witness for the killer being Oswald. Okay. Helen Markham picks Oswald at a lineup. Barbara Davis picks Oswald at a lineup. Virginia Davis picks Oswald at a lineup. William Scoggins picks Oswald at a lineup. Sam Ginyard picks Oswald at a lineup. Ted Calloway picks Oswald as a lineup. Okay. The four guys at the Johnny Reynolds Motor Company, three of them, Harold Russell, Pat Patterson, and Warren Reynolds, said the man they saw was Oswald, and L.J. Lewis was uncertain. So these 13 witnesses, 9 of them said it was Oswald. 4 of them couldn't make a decision one or the other, but none of the 13 said the guy was not Oswald. Unless you want to, and I'm talking about what they told the authorities in 1963 or 1964. Okay. So Jimmy Burt was interviewed by the FBI in 1964, makes no mention that the killer was not Oswald. He just gave a description of the guy. Matt's going to bring up some interview given 4 or 5 years later to Al Chapman or whoever it was, talking about how Burt supposedly said the guy wasn't Oswald, but he didn't tell that to the FBI in 1964. So Matt wants to use first day evidence. I think he's even used those exact words earlier in this debate. First day evidence, basically, we're talking about 1964 FBI interview. It might even be December 63. I have to look at Burt's interview, but he doesn't make any reference whatsoever to the guy not being Oswald. He just didn't say the guy was Oswald. So I just listed 13 witnesses, and 9 of these 13 said the man they saw was Lee Harvey Oswald. 4 of the 13 said that the man they saw, they couldn't be certain one way or the other, but 0 of these 13 said the man was not Lee Harvey Oswald to the authorities, which is when it counts.
Okay, to which we talked about all this last time, but I will say, to which I simply say, you mean the unfair lineups and the photo that was shown to them many months after all this happened, after he was nationally known? Okay, anyway.
Well, the unfair lineups, I mean, you asked me a question, let me answer. So the unfair lineups, basically, when you say the lineups are unfair, you're basically accusing Helen Markham, Barbara Davis, Virginia Davis, William Scoggins, Sam Ginyard, and Ted Calloway of going to these lineups and basically saying, I'm going to pick the guy who most resembled the guy I saw, even if the guy I saw is not in the lineup. I'm just going to pick the guy who most resembled. Nope, that's not what they were doing, Matt. They were going there to pick a guy that they saw, and if they didn't see the guy, they wouldn't have picked a guy.
Again, unfair lineups, and we talked about that already. But anyway, you mentioned Jim.
Again, these witnesses went to the lineup and picked the man they saw. They didn't pick a man who most resembled the man they saw. They picked the man they saw.
Okay. Okay, so you mentioned Jimmy Burt. And so Jimmy Burt was never asked in 1964, or if he was never asked about any identification whatsoever. So it's very misleading for you to say that he didn't, what was the argument that you said?
I said to the authorities in 1963 or 1964, Jimmy Burt never told any of them that the man he saw was not Oswald.
Because he was never asked that question.
So the FBI takes time out of their day, sends 2 agents to go interview Jimmy Burt, and they're not going to ask him if he thought the man was Oswald or not.
If they did, they didn't write it down. I wonder why. Probably because when Al Chapman caught up with him in 1968, he said, no, the killer was not Oswald. No.
So Chapman asked the question that the FBI forgot to ask.
Again, like I said, Bill, if the FBI asked him that question, they didn't report it or write it down. I wonder why. Probably because he said it wasn't Oswald.
So you think that Jimmy Burt is going to tell the FBI that the man was not Oswald, and they're going to leave that off of the report?
Yes. We know what.
On what grounds? On what grounds are you saying that?
Listen. They never asked him, or if they did ask him, they didn't write it down. So therefore, what we have to rely on is when he was asked that question. And he was asked that question in 1968 by Al Chapman, and he was also asked in the 1970s by Larry Harris if it was Oswald. And he told them, no, it was not Oswald. So that's what we have to go by, because they never asked him the FBI never asked him. Or if they did ask him, they never wrote it down. So therefore, what we have to go by is what he told Chapman and Harris.
The FBI went out and interviewed Jimmy Burt. He gave a description of the guy, and he didn't say the guy wasn't Oswald. He just
Again.
described the guy the best as he could.
Again, are you not hearing what I'm saying, Bill? If they did ask him, they didn't write it down. There's nothing in his 1964 interview with the FBI about any identification whatsoever. So therefore, what we have to go on is what he told Chapman and Harris. Correct or no?
No, I'm going by what he told the FBI in December. It was in December of '63.
Again, they never asked him that question, or if they did, they never wrote it down. So you're basing it on something that's not in the report. They never wrote it down if he told them, or they didn't ask him. So therefore, what we have
you're making up a scenario which for all we know didn't take place. You're making up a scenario.
I'm not making up a scenario. It's very simple. They did not ask him about any identification of Oswald or show him a picture. Or if they did, I know I keep repeating myself because it's not getting to you, getting through your head. But anyway, what we have to rely on is what he told Chapman and Harris, because that information is not in his original interview. They never asked him the question.
Jimmy Burt told the FBI, he described the guy, white male, 5'8", wearing a light-colored jacket. And he said he could not describe the man further.
Yes.
Nothing about the man not being Oswald, which is nothing about the man not being. He didn't tell him the man was not Oswald, or would have been in. So
do you take that statement to mean that I can't describe him any further than what I just described? It means that he can't identify the person? That's amazing. No, he said that the killer looked like this, and this, and that's all I can describe of him. You're twisting that. You're twisting that.
No, he describes the man as a white male, approximately 5'8", wearing a light-colored jacket. Yeah. That's it. Period. Yes. He doesn't say it was not Oswald. He doesn't say it was Oswald, but he doesn't say it wasn't.
He made it imply that.
I'm not implying that Jimmy Burt. I'm not implying that Jimmy Burt said it was Oswald. I've never used Jimmy Burt as a witness.
Okay, so look, it's very simple. Okay, very, very simple. Jimmy Burt said it was not Oswald. Okay. And I know what your argument is, Bill. He did not say that. That statement is not written in his FBI interview. Well,
Jimmy Burt did not tell the FBI in 1964 or 1963. It was December '63. He did not tell the FBI that the man was not Oswald. It's not in the report. He didn't tell them that
because they didn't ask them the question. It took Chapman and Harris, the real investigators, to ask him that question.
That's absurd. That's absurd. That's
I'm telling you, it's not in the report. So it's not in his report with the FBI. Why isn't it?
The FBI went out to interview Jimmy Burt to find out what he saw. And if the man was not Oswald, he would have told him that at that moment, and it would have been in the report, Matt. It's not in the report.
Either they didn't ask him, or they asked him and he told them, and they didn't write it down. So no matter what, there's no information in there about any identification or Oswald or anything. So what we have to rely on is when he was asked that, and when it was written down about what his response was. And he was asked in '68 and in the '70s, and he said it was not Oswald. End of story. It's as simple as that. He said it was not Oswald. Next topic.
No, the next topic is Jimmy Burt is a witness for the killer being neither Oswald or being Oswald, but he's not a witness for the killer being someone other than Oswald.
Yes, it is. He said it was not Oswald. He said it was not Oswald.
I'm getting kind of hung up on Jimmy Burt.
Yeah, he said it was not.
So basically, you have William Scoggins, Helen Markham, Barbara Davis and Virginia Davis, Sam Ginyard and Ted Calloway. These 6 men and women attended a police lineup, 5 of them on Friday night, Scoggins on Saturday. All 6 of them picked Oswald as the man they saw either shoot the police officer or running from the scene with a gun in his hand right after the shots. And also, Jim Lavelle told me personally, for what it's worth, in the summer of 2019, I was in his living room for almost 6 hours, and he told me personally, you can give this however much weight you want to, but he told me that they were certain that the lineups were on the up and up because the last thing they wanted was for any identification to be thrown out at a trial. And I've also talked to district attorneys, more than one now, by the way, and every one of them have told me when I laid out the scenario, unbiased, that even if you feel
Yeah,
the
right.
lineups should be thrown out, that doesn't mean the judge would not allow an in-courtroom identification by the witness. So we don't know. In fact, I believe I know, but I can't state it as a fact. So we don't know for sure that Scoggins, Markham, Davis, Callaway, and Ginyard. I feel like when they're up on the witness stand and the let's say the lineups are thrown out, which I don't think they would be, but let's say they were.
Yeah, they would.
No,
Absolutely.
you don't know that. You do not know that at all. But let's say, for example, for now, that they were thrown out. That doesn't stop the prosecuting attorney from asking these 6 witnesses, hey, can you point out the man you saw in the courtroom today? And these 6 witnesses, if they picked him out of lineup, they're going to point him out to right there on the defendant's chair right there. They're going to point right to Oswald because they picked, and I know that because they picked him at the lineup.
They picked him, but they didn't identify him.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does pick.
Chris, can you explain this to me real quick? What that means? Because Matt,
hold on.
I don't know what that means.
So you said Jim Lavelle in your interview with, I believe it was on Quorum Radio. Anyway, you said, quote, Lavelle told you that they, the police, quote, did everything right in the lineups, end quote. I wrote it down. Is that true? Lavelle told you this.
Now I honestly could not tell you his exact words, but I wrote it down. I got the point that he was making.
In your interview on Quorum Radio, Bill, you said Lavelle told you they, the police, quote, did everything right in the lineups. Wow. I mean, folks with even a cursory knowledge about this case would leap off their chairs at this outrageous comment. Okay, I want to close this off by saying, in 1979, this isn't a quote. In 1979, Larry Harris, who was the world's leading authority on the Tippit case, he passed away the year I was born, actually.
You say was or is?
I said was. He was the world's leading authority. In 1979, Larry Harris asked Dr. Robert Buckout, who was a leading U.S. expert on eyewitness testimony and identification, to evaluate the police lineups. Okay, so he's very, very qualified. Okay, one of the best in the nation. He did so and concluded, quote, by any stretch of the imagination, virtually every rule in the book was violated in the conduct of these lineups. The results of any of these lineups, conducted as poorly and under its hysterical circumstances as they were, should be regarded as utterly worthless. End quote. That is a leading U.S. the leading U.S. expert on eyewitness testimony and identification.
I don't care who that is. Jim Lavelle told me that they did everything that they had to do to make sure the lineups were on the up and up and would not be thrown out.
So I just want to point out how insane that quote was. How about how?
So Jim Lavelle made in the same quote then, according to you, made in the same comment.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I knew Jim Lavelle since I was 16, so I'm not going to say a bad word.
Well, let me ask you a question. Does Jim Lavelle have credibility or not?
I went to his funeral. I'm not going.
That doesn't mean anything. That's beside the point.
I'm not going to say a bad word about him, but I'm saying that quote, they did everything right in the lineups, is outrageous. Next topic.
Is Jim Lavelle credible or not?
I'm not here to talk about Jim Lavelle.
Okay, so
I knew him since I was 16. I went to the man's funeral. I'm not going to say a bad word about him. Next topic.
Regarding the witnesses, though, there was still also Mary Brock, by the way, for what it's worth. Her husband, Robert Brock, worked at the Shell station that was at the corner of basically 1 block west of Patton and Jefferson. And she said that Oswald made his way behind the Texaco station. He was wearing a jacket when he did so. And she identified this man as being Oswald. So for what it's worth, Mary Brock has Lee Harvey Oswald behind the Texaco station wearing a jacket.
And and her husband standing right next to her
could not be sure one way or the other.
I can finish. Could not identify Oswald.
Correct. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything.
I think people. I'm not sure if I summarized. I did not summarize this in round 1 last year. But I think people forget that 12 witnesses refused to identify Oswald. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Next topic.
Robert Brock refusing to identify Oswald is not to be taken as Robert Brock saying the guy was not Oswald.
I never said it was.
Okay, then what's your point? Then what's your point with it?
To identify Oswald. Okay, and
But Mary Brock said the guy was Oswald, and he had a jacket, and he went behind the Texaco station.
And the guy and her husband next to her can't identify Oswald. Next topic.